Welcome. Today's children and young people are growing up in an increasingly complex world and living their lives seamlessly, both on and offline. In this environment, our children and young people need to know how to be safe and healthy, and how to manage their academic, personal, and social lives in a positive and, above all, safe way. The aim of relationships and sex education is to give our young people the information they need to help them develop healthy, nurturing relationships of all kinds, not just intimate relationships. It should enable them to know what a healthy relationship looks like and what makes a good friend, a good colleague, and a successful marriage, partnership, or other type of committed relationship. It should teach what is acceptable and unacceptable behaviours in our relationships. Our aim here at Newark Church of England Primary School is that our young people will understand the positive effects that good relationships have on their mental well-being, and that they are able to identify when relationships are not right and understand how such situations could be managed. As a Church of England school, we want our young people to flourish and gain every opportunity to live fulfilled lives. Our RSE is about the emotional, social, and physical aspects of growing up. It is also about the spiritual and moral aspects of relationships within the context of a Christian vision for becoming the people we are intended to be in all our world's richness and diversity. The Rshe curriculum ensures our young people are able to cherish themselves and others as unique and wonderfully made, and to form healthy relationships where they respect and offer dignity to others. We recognise that there may be elements of the curriculum which some parents and carers may find difficult to talk through with their children, and we would encourage you to seek assistance from our team at school should this be the case. We hope that this video helps you to clarify the importance of our age-appropriate RSE across the whole school. Thank you for listening.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Newark School's RSHE information video for parents and carers. My name's Mrs. Clark. I'm the Deputy Head and lead for RSHE and PSHE. The aims of today's videos is to give you more information about the changes to the RSHE curriculum, the statutory elements and the non-statutory elements, and hopefully be able to signpost you to more information and to talk more about our scheme of work that we use for PSHE, which is the Jigsaw scheme. So let's begin. If we have a look at our first slide, this is Damien Hines, who was the Education Secretary at the time the changes were made. His foreword, I felt was really important for you to see. He explains it's all about children growing up in a complex world, and actually we need to prepare our young children, and you can take the time to read this. It's about preparing our young children to live happy and safe and healthy lives through their academic, personal and social lives in a positive way. So have a chance, if you get to have a look at his foreword. Just gives a bit of a background as to why the changes were made. But in essence, it's about how the world is a very different place to when we were all younger, and our job in the curriculum is to prepare them for these changes, both online and offline as well, which I'm sure you'll agree is incredibly important. So, having a look at the statutory requirements here, we have a statutory requirement to teach the biological aspects of human growth and reproduction. That's all in our science aspect of the curriculum. We also, from now, have a duty to teach relationships education that also includes health. I think it's really important in this video to note that it's not all about sex. And I know that there are, can be worries as a parent about that aspect of it, but actually the main bulk of the teaching is all about healthy relationships and relationships that are not just intimate relationships. And we'll talk a bit more about that later on. We are also going to cover the Equalities Act, which is an incredibly important document that we use, that we have a statutory obligation to cover and ensure is honoured. The safeguarding element we'll go into in terms of the language that school uses, our British values, and the spiritual, moral, social, cultural elements are all taught within the Jigsaw lessons. So these as a school are what we are duty bound to teach. These are statutory elements to the curriculum. So here is our Equalities Act. I like this because it's nice and pictorial. If I just move myself, hopefully you can see. These are protected characteristics. And these are what make people unique. These are why these are protected characteristics. And by law, these are protected characteristics. It is not our job as a school to promote these. It is a job to inform the children on what these are. So we have age, disability, gender reassignment, race, religion there just behind me, sex and gender, sexual orientation, pregnancy and maternity, marriage and civil partnerships. So they are our protected characteristics, which by law is our duty to inform the children of, but not to promote. I want to make that really clear. So we have to comply with the Equalities Act. It is our duty as a school to be able to do that. And again, you can see there, we should be making sure that things like misogyny, gender stereotypes, homophobia are not tolerated by our children, and make sure that these issues are alive in our school. And this may be done through collective worships. We've done our anti-bullying week recently, and it's just making sure that these key elements are really clear to our children that those sorts of behaviours are not accepted. So again, it's not our job to promote these aspects, it's our job to inform the children. So relationships education, I think there can be a misconception sometimes that actually it's all about sex and intimate relationships, and that is absolutely not the case. That's a very small part of it. This side of relationships is all about building relationships, both friendships, families, how to speak when they notice that relationships aren't healthy or positive or safe, and how to make and maintain positive relationships. And I think the important part at the bottom there is that it's not only relationships online, but relationships offline too. And that e-safety element is a huge part of today's society, which I'm sure you'll agree with your children. So I really wanted to make it clear that it's all about healthy, caring and safe relationships, not necessarily intimate, but also friendships, which is a huge part of children's society, school, and also family as well. So it's recognising what a healthy relationship looks like and making sure that it's a positive relationship, both online and offline. I thought it was worth adding in the science curriculum for Key Stage 1, and in a moment we'll look at Key Stage 2. So you can see that again, I'll just move myself out of the way. There we go. So it's all about looking and identifying names of parts of the human bodies, and they can just be the typical parts of the human bodies, not just the sexual parts, but we'll have a look at how we teach the names of the parts of the body in a moment. And it's also about animals actually. And at the very end of this video, there'll be an opportunity to look at some of the resources that we both use in Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2. You'll see in the Key Stage 1 resources, they are very age and stage appropriate. And I'm going to use that phrase a lot. In our PSHE lessons, through our Jigsaw Scheme of Work programme, which is endorsed by East Sussex and the PSHE Association, it's very widely used. You'll notice that all of the resources, all of the lessons are completely pitched to the child's age and stage. The use of language, the content, the subject matter, what is taught, is all related to the children's age and stage. Nothing is taken above where these children should be learning. And the teachers are very, very clear on what is appropriate for their age and stage. So just have if you get a chance to pause the video and just have a little look at what's expected for Key Stage 1. So naming parts of the bodies, I'll move myself back. Naming parts of the bodies, these are the examples that we would teach early on, parts of the bodies. And as you can see, in Key Stage 1, it's very much there about the functions. Vulva seems to be a new word in terms of that misconception that it's vagina. Vagina is very much the inside part of the body. The vulva is the outside part, which we refer to as, once the girl has been for a wee, that's the part that she has to wipe. So it's a very kind of functionality part of Key Stage 1, naming parts of the body. But we will absolutely be using the accurate terminology with the children. And for a couple of reasons. One, because academic-wise, we want to have that common language that when they're moving up through the school, first of all, they're not associating those words with being dirty or rude. Actually, they are the scientific parts of the body. So we want to be really consistent with that. But we also accept that children come in with their family-friendly names for parts of the body. So for a safeguarding point of view, we really need to be clear that we as a school are using that common language and the accurate explanations for those parts of the body as well. So right from an early stage, we'll be using those words, but it's very much about the functions of those body parts. And as we all know in Key Stage 1, they're all about the wee and the poo. So here is our Key Stage 2, Science and Sex Ed there. And as you can see, it's all about, here it's about kind of how the body changes. And that's when you're kind of touching on puberty. And again, it's looking at animals and their changes as well. We'll talk a little bit more in depth and I'll show you the programme of work that goes through about the Key Stage 2 Changing Me jigsaw puzzle in a moment. So hopefully you'll be a bit clear on that. Again, and if I just move myself out of the way, if you get a chance to just pause the video and have a little look through, this is the science curriculum part. So there's a lot of overlap between the science and the RHSE. It's very much interlinked between kind of healthy me and parts of the body and science as well. So you can see where it's all covered. There we go. So here's our jigsaw scheme of work. There we go. That's a whole school approach. Jigsaw is a scheme of work that we buy into, and as I said before, it's really well endorsed by East Sussex and the PSHE Association. These headings on the left here are being me in my world, celebrating difference, dreams and goals, healthy me, relationships and changing me are how we follow through the academic year. And each heading is a jigsaw piece. And within those pieces are several lessons touching upon things like relationships, mental health, self-esteem, social skills, the safeguarding parts of things. And you can see each jigsaw there. And I'll show you how it's outlined within your year group that's associated with your children, so you can get a little bit more information there about how it's more related to your children. But for every single year group from reception to year 6, they are the key headings that we use. So here we go, in a little bit more detail, because the puberty and the human production part is, I think, the bit that people feel most conscious about and may have concerns about, but you needn't worry. Everything, as I said before, is totally age and stage appropriate. So this slide I wanted to show you, I think it's really important. As I say, it starts with how we change since we're a baby. So we're very much looking at kind of how we used to be when we were children, moving right up through year 1 about the changing body and what happens. Not to the degree of puberty or year 6, it's just about how your body grows and that natural change in a very scientific way. And again, we'll talk about animals alongside that as well. The changing me for year 2 is, the journey from when you're young to old. And within that, you'll look at generational differences as well. Year 3 is interesting. It says about the kind of changing bodies inside and out and how we start to change. In year 3, because girls' periods, as generationally have become younger at starting their periods, in the year 3 curriculum, they gently touch on periods. And it's so that the children do not have any concerns or worries. And therefore, if they are one of the girls that do start their periods early, then we've given them that information, they needn't worry. And actually, it's really good to inform everybody on that anyway. So it has crept in slightly earlier for year 3, but that's just because periods are starting earlier. So any questions on that, please always email through, but it's very gently touched upon. Up to year 4, about having a baby, again, looking at parts of the men, parts of women in a very scientific way, looking at the reproductive system, perhaps naming and labelling. And there you go, you've got girls and puberty there in year 4, and that carries on all the way through. And it's important that the boys are well informed on that too. And you've got conception, and right up to year 6, the story of pregnancy and birth. The jigsaw resources are animated, but they're animated in a very scientific way. And if you do get a chance to have a look at some of the stills that I've put on, you'll see what I mean by scientific animations. They're not the kind of cartoon characters, they are clip art animations. So if you do get a chance, definitely have a look at those. But we've used Jigsaw for a long time now, and we've not had any issues. These are very kind of factual animations, not like the things that I remember in my sex education lessons when I was at school. So we are required to teach these aspects here, as you can see: mental health, internet safety, physical health, healthy eating, drugs, alcohol and tobacco, health and prevention, basic first aid, and then that changing adolescent body. So they're the things in health education that we are required to teach. and they all get covered at various points within the Jigsaw curriculum. Now, this I really want to make very clear. This is called the right to be excused or the right to withdraw. And as parents and carers, you have the right to withdraw your children from the sex education aspect, the story of pregnancy, if you like, but not from any of the science or health. And I would really urge you to consider your children being removed from that. You know, as I said before, our teachers are extremely experienced at making sure that the lessons are pitched correctly to the age and stage of the children. And I think if children miss out on this really important aspect of life, then it begs the question of where they will pick this information up from. And as we all know, information third hand from friends or rumours, you know, you would want your children to be hearing about this information in school by trained experts that pitch it at their age and stage. So if I just read this out so it's really clear, there is no right to withdraw from relationships, education or health education. That aspect is statutory. Parents and carers are only able to request that their child is excused from sex education taught outside of the national curriculum for science. If a parent wishes their child to be excused from some or all or non-statutory sex education, they should discuss this with the head teacher, making clear which aspects of the programme they do not wish their child to participate in. So, but again, I think that comes with an air of caution. You know, you really need to think about kind of where your children will pick up this information from. And again, the health education part and the relationships part, all about the friends and families and positive relationship part, is all statutory. So I'm afraid that part isn't under the right to be excused. It's only the non-statutory sex education, so it's not under the science part either. That is also statutory. So we're talking about a kind of small element of that. But as I said before, if that is something you're looking into, then please go and see Miss Alty. She'd be more than happy to discuss this with you. It has to be something that is discussed with the head teacher. It cannot be any other member of staff. So this is always, we did some staff training on this after I attended the RSHE training last academic year. We then did some staff training, including some governors. And this was always the funny part about when the children put their hands up and ask questions. And sometimes that is a fear of dread. So for some teachers. So what is quite good and what some classes do is the Ask It basket, where they have a basket ready for the children to kind of put any questions in that they may have about any aspect of the lesson. It doesn't just have to be about the sex, it can be about any other part of the relationships or the health. And that way it gives the teacher a chance to have a look through some of those questions and really formulate good quality answers. However, if there are hands that go up, which often there are in PSHE or RHAC lessons, then what we've said to our teachers is that if you feel uncomfortable by answering a question, then hold on to that. Say to the class, actually, I'm going to speak to another member of staff first and get some ideas on this, because we want to make sure, and as leaders and as teachers, that the answers are appropriate and they're completely tailored to the age and stage of those lessons. So teachers at Newark School are not afraid to say, I'm afraid you're going to have to leave that one with me and I'll come back to you for an answer. Or they do answer it, but under the right age and stage in terms of the answer. So I know that can be a question from parents about, well, what do you do if you get asked a question that perhaps isn't appropriate? You might address it there and then and say, actually, that question's not appropriate for this. Or it might be that actually that member of staff needs to come and see me, we'll formulate an answer together and then go back and answer it. But our teachers are so experienced at managing tricky questions. And as I say, they sometimes have an Ask It basket or a question box, which formulates a little bit more time to think about some answers. So I know that tends to be a question that parents can ask. If you really want some more information about PSHE, our website is the best place to go to. On there, we've got our curriculum aims, as you can see there. But if you go further down, we've got our RSHE policy, which thank you to the think tank and to our governor, Mrs. Robertson, for having a look through and checking and making sure that we had everything in it that we needed. So please do download our RSHE policy for more information on the curriculum and slightly more in-depth and concise explanation on how it's all been introduced. Also on our website is an FAQ sheet, which has some key questions that some of the think tank parents came up with, and we've tried to find some answers. So if there are any questions, definitely have a look on our website under the FAQ, because there's some really great stuff on there. What I'm also going to do is, once this has all been filmed and gone out to parents and carers, I have some really fantastic resource sheets like I said to you about the jigsaw curriculum, and I said I will give you some more information that broke it down for your year groups, because perhaps you're a bit more interested in what happens, for example, in year 2 or year 1. They're called knowledge and skills progression maps, and they outline all of the information that's covered within those jigsaw pieces. But what's really good for you guys is there's some really good family learning questions, they're called, and there's a right-hand column with a lot of questions depending on the jigsaw piece. So, for example, changing me. There's some good questions that actually you can have or formulate discussions with your children at home. So they will be located on the class pages. So, for example, on the year 1 page, they will have the year 1 knowledge and skills progression map, and same for year 2, and for otters, even for reception, right up to year 6. Unfortunately, we can't put them on the PSHE page because that would be breaching copyright, and we need to make sure that we are in line with the Jigsaw's GDPR and copyright laws. So they will be on the class pages. So look out for those, especially if you're wanting more information in terms of detail and good questions to ask at home, or triggers to formulate good discussion. They've got some great questions on there, so definitely look out for those on the class pages. And then finally, just to finish off, these are the contact details of people in relation to RHSE that you will want to know. So obviously you've got Miss Holty there, and she will be the person to talk to about the right to excuse. You've got myself there, anything curriculum based, you want some more information or you want to show you some more resources, definitely get in touch. More than happy to answer any emails on RHSE or PSHE as well. If you have any concerns or questions or just queries or you're wanting more information, please don't hesitate to email. We've got Countner Robertson, Mrs. Robertson, who's our Governor for Safeguarding and also RSE. So she is brilliant. She's been very, very supportive in terms of the staff training, policies, formulating this video. So thank you, Mrs. Robertson. So definitely get in contact with Mrs. Robertson over any issues in terms of RSE or safeguarding. And then you've got Reverend Paul Mundy there, our local vicar, who definitely contact over any queries in relation to faith or how the church, because we're a Church of England school, how that fits into learning about sex or relationships. Definitely get in touch with him as well. So you've got 4 contact details there, but don't hesitate to contact any of us. We will more than happily help you in any way we can. Now, the next part of this video will have examples of resources that I just thought was quite useful for you to see. Really, you can see how in Key Stage 1, how gently relationships is talked about, and definitely if you get a chance to have a look at some of these resources, you can pause the videos and just have a closer look. But as I said, if there's anything you want to know more information about, whether it be resources, the curriculum, then definitely get in touch, and I look forward to hearing from you. I hope you found the video informative. As I said, normally we would do this face-to-face, and I'm sorry we can't do that in a minute, but hopefully this is the next best thing. So do get in touch if there's anything we can do to help you. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for your time. Bye-bye. So I just thought I'd leave up these contact details. Please pause the video to get a closer look. The next part of the video are some examples of some of the resources used across Key Stage 1 and Key Stage 2 and our early years as well. These are mainly based for the relationships part. Some examples of reception resources to do with families, relationships. Again, looking at kind of relationships and babies for younger years is mainly done through animals. Some examples of Key Stage 1 resources, again to do with relationships. Another relationship for Key Stage 1 there, about healthy relationships and health. These are some of the Key Stage 2 resources on relationships. This is a Key Stage 2 resource for body image and self-esteem, looking at the impact of social media on mental health. I hope you found that useful. If there are any particular resources or any aspects of the Jigsaw curriculum that you would like to discuss further, then as I say, please do not hesitate to come in and speak to us. Thank you everybody for your time. Bye-bye.